June 5, 1967, 9:42 a.m. Sinai Peninsula, 32,000 feet above the burning sand. The sun is already merciless, a white-hot disk climbing fast over the desert. From this altitude, the Sinai looks flat and harmless, an endless canvas of tan and gold. But inside the cramped cockpit of a Soviet-built MiG-21, nothing feels calm. Captain Yusuf Hamdan, Egyptian Air Force, grips the control stick with gloved hands slicked by sweat. The MiG's engine screams behind him, a constant metallic howl that vibrates through his spine. Warning lights glow faintly in the corner of his vision. The air smells of hot electronics, oxygen, and fear. On his radar scope, a blip flickers. "Contact, bearing 085, crackles the voice of ground control through the headset, distorted by static. "High altitude, fast." Yusuf smiles grimly. Good. This is what the MiG-21 was built for. For years, pilots like him have been told the same thing. Speed is life. The MiG-21, small, sharp-nosed, brutally fast, was a knife in the sky. Mach 2 capable, climb rate that embarrassed older Western fighters. In training briefings, Soviet advisors had tapped chalk against blackboards and drawn simple conclusions. You see them first. You climb faster. You strike first. Below Yusuf, dozens of Egyptian air bases lie shattered. The morning's surprise Israeli attack, Operation Focus, has already turned runways into wreckage and aircraft into twisted, burning skeletons. But in the air, Yusuf believed, the balance is different. Here, altitude and speed still matter. Here, the MiG-21 reigns. His wingman, Lieutenant Samir Fatih, slides into position off the right wing, the silver delta shape steady and precise. Two MiGs alone now, racing toward an intruder they assume will be slower, heavier, easier prey. The radar blip grows stronger, then splits into two. Yusuf's jaw tightens. "Two contacts," he reports. "Confirm hostile." A pause, then confirmed. Engage. He pushes the throttle forward. The Tamansky engine surges, pressing him back into the seat. The MiG climbs like a homesick angel, slicing upward into thinner air. This is the moment he trusts, where American or Israeli pilots are supposed to struggle, their jets gasping, their turns widening. At 34,000 feet, Yusuf rolls left, searching the sky. And then he sees them. Two aircraft, dark specks against the glare, approaching head-on. Not mirages, he realizes. Something else. Wider wings, twin tails. They look larger than expected. "Visual," Samir says, his voice tense. "They're not running." That's strange. Every exercise, every briefing, every past encounter has taught Yusuf that enemies avoid MiG-21s at altitude. The MiG-21 is an interceptor. It is not meant to circle. It is meant to slash. Yusuf arms his K-13 missiles, the Soviet copy of the American Sidewinder. The familiar tone begins to pulse in his headset, a rising whine as the seeker head searches for heat. "Stay fast," Yusuf orders. "One pass, then climb." The two formations close at a combined speed of over 1,200 miles per hour. At 5 kilometers, Yusuf realizes something is wrong. The enemy jets aren't climbing away. They're turning into the attack, hard. The world outside the canopy snaps sideways. Yusuf instinctively pulls back on the stick, feeling the G-forces crush his chest. The MiG shudders, protesting. Its delta wing loves speed, but it hates tight turns. He knows this. Everyone knows this. But the enemy aircraft, now unmistakable as Israeli Mirage 3Cs, are doing the impossible. They're bleeding speed and still turning.
One Mirage flashes across Yusuf's nose, closer than he expects, its delta wing catching the sun. For a fraction of a second, he sees the pilot's helmet through the canopy. Too close, too fast. "Missile lock lost," Samir shouts. Yusuf tries to reacquire, forcing the MiG into a wider arc. The tone in his headset fades, then dies. The Mirage has dumped speed and dropped low, vanishing beneath his nose. This is not how the fight is supposed to go. Yusuf levels out, pushing the throttle to regain energy. Speed climbs, altitude stabilizes. He searches desperately, craning his neck, scanning the blinding sky. Then his warning receiver screams, a shrill, piercing alarm. Missile launch. "Brake! Brake left!" Samir yells. Yusuf reacts instantly, slamming the stick over. The MiG bucks violently. The horizon spins. For a heartbeat, he sees a white streak tear past where his cockpit had been seconds earlier. A missile, Israeli, fired from below. Below. The rules are breaking apart. The MiG-21 was supposed to dominate from above. Instead, the enemy has slipped under him, into the blind spots Soviet instructors had dismissed as theoretical. Yusuf's breath comes fast now. The cockpit feels smaller, hotter. "This isn't possible," he mutters, half to himself, half to the machine. But the sky does not care what was promised in classrooms. Somewhere below, an Israeli pilot is already setting up the next move, patient and calm, exploiting every weakness Yusuf was never trained to fear. And the MiG-21, fast, sharp, and deadly in the wrong kind of fight, was about to learn what happens when advantage becomes illusion.
The missile warning dies as suddenly as it began. Yusuf rolls level, heart hammering, every muscle locked tight. The sky ahead is empty, too empty. No contrails, no silhouettes, just blue and glare and the growing certainty that he has lost control of the geometry of the fight. "Samir, report position!" Yusuf snaps. A pause. Static. Then Samir's voice returns, higher now, strained. "I'm at 28,000. I lost them. They went vertical, then—" The transmission cuts off. Yusuf's eyes dart to the altimeter. 29,000 feet, airspeed climbing past 900 kilometers per hour. Too fast to turn, too slow to run. The MiG-21 lives in narrow margins, and Yusuf is riding the edge of all of them at once. This is the flaw no one emphasized. In Soviet manuals, the MiG-21 is described as simple, rugged, forgiving. But that simplicity hides a trap. Once the aircraft bleeds energy in a turning fight, it becomes brutally unforgiving. The delta wing that gives it speed also punishes hesitation. Lose momentum, and the aircraft fights back. Yusuf banks gently, careful not to pull too hard. His eyes sweep left, then right. A shadow flickers across the canopy. "Contact! High 6!" he shouts, though no one may be listening. The Mirage drops out of the sun like a hawk. Its nose is already pointed where Yusuf is going to be, not where he is now. A line of tracer fire slices through the air, green-white streaks snapping past the MiG's left wing. Yusuf slams the throttle forward and dives. The desert rushes up, tan and featureless, spinning slowly as he rolls to keep the Mirage from settling behind him. The MiG accelerates fast in the dive. This, at least, is familiar. Speed floods back into the controls. The aircraft feels alive again, sharp and responsive. But the Mirage stays with him, not matching his speed, managing it. Yusuf realizes too late what the Israeli pilot is doing. The Mirage isn't chasing recklessly. It's staying just outside the MiG's optimal turn radius, forcing Yusuf to choose between two bad options: slow down and become vulnerable, or stay fast and predictable. "Ground control! I'm engaged! Defensive! Request vectors!" Only static answers him. Below, smoke columns rise from airfields that should have been guiding him home. The war on the ground has already been decided.
Up here, he is alone. Yusuf pulls up sharply, trading speed for altitude. The MiG claws skyward, engine screaming, air thinning. His vision tunnels slightly as the G-forces build. For a moment, he thinks he's done it, outclimbed the Mirage, regained the vertical advantage. Then the Mirage follows. Not straight up, at an angle, conserving energy, patient. This is not the enemy Yusuf trained to fight. The Soviet doctrine drilled into him was built on assumptions that Western pilots would avoid close combat, that they would rely on radar and missiles, that they would disengage if the fight became messy. But the Israeli pilots, many of them veterans of dozens of skirmishes, had learned something different. They had studied the MiG-21 not as a symbol, but as a machine. They knew where it bled energy. They knew where its visibility failed. They knew its pilot would be tempted to run vertical. At 31,000 feet, Yusuf's speed decays faster than he expects. The stick grows heavy. The Mirage slides into view again, off his left, almost level, close enough now that Yusuf can see the aircraft's roundels clearly, blue and white, calm, confident. He yanks the stick, trying to force a snap turn. The MiG shudders violently. A stall warning blares. No! No! The aircraft drops a wing, nose pitching down. Yusuf fights it, muscles straining, sweat pouring into his eyes. For 2 terrifying seconds, the MiG is no longer a weapon. It is a falling object. The Mirage doesn't hesitate. A short burst from its cannons rips past the MiG's tail. Metal screams. Warning lights explode across Yusuf's panel. Hydraulics! I'm hit! The controls feel sloppy now, delayed. The MiG responds like it's underwater. Yusuf dives again, hoping speed will save him one last time. But the Mirage stays disciplined, pulling back, resetting, lining up. This is no longer a duel. It is an execution, shaped by physics and preparation. Yusuf thinks fleetingly of the classroom back in Egypt, of chalk diagrams and confident promises, of instructors who said the MiG-21 would always give him the edge if he stayed fast and high. They never mentioned what would happen if the enemy refused to play by those rules. The Mirage's nose steadies. The guns fire again. And the sky closes in.
The second burst hits home. Yusuf feels it before he understands it. A violent udar, a hammer blow that runs through the MiG's fuselage. The aircraft lurches, yawing hard to the right. The engine tone changes pitch, coughing, uneven. Smoke curls past the canopy, thin at first, then thick enough to sting his eyes. "Mayday! Mayday!" His voice cracks as the radio dies in a hiss of static. The MiG-21 is no longer flying. It is falling. Yusuf fights the controls out of instinct, not hope. The horizon spins, the altimeter unwinds like a clock gone mad. 20,000 feet, 19, 18. The desert grows texture now. Ridges, roads, tiny black dots that might be vehicles or might be nothing at all. Training finally cuts through panic. If the aircraft won't answer, you leave it. Yusuf reaches for the ejection handle, fingers trembling. For one last second he looks left, half expecting to see Samir's MiG alongside him. There is nothing. He pulls. The canopy detonates away in a flash of light and noise. The seat rockets upward, crushing his spine, ripping the breath from his lungs. The world becomes wind and violence, and then sudden, impossible quiet. The parachute blossoms above him. Below, his MiG-21 slams into the Sinai in a rising ball of dust and flame, a black scar etched into the sand. One more aircraft lost in a morning already soaked with destruction. As Yusuf drifts downward, the Mirage passes once, slow and deliberate, not close enough to taunt, just close enough to confirm. Then it banks away,
already searching for the next fight. Elsewhere over the Sinai, similar scenes are unfolding. MiG-21 pilots, some experienced, some barely out of advanced training, are discovering the same brutal truth in different ways. The aircraft that looked unbeatable on paper is being dismantled in practice, not by superior speed, not by superior altitude, but by understanding. Israeli pilots are dragging MiGs into turning fights, forcing them to shed energy, exploiting blind spots created by the MiG's forward cockpit framing and limited rear visibility. They attack from below, from offset angles, from positions Soviet doctrine dismissed as inefficient. In the chaos, missile shots are missed, guns jam, pilots overshoot, and each mistake costs lives. By midday, the Egyptian Air Force is in shambles. Runways cratered, command and control fractured. Pilots like Yusuf hanging beneath parachutes or racing toward bases already in ruins realize the war in the air has been decided faster than anyone imagined possible. The MiG-21 was never a bad aircraft. That is the cruel irony. It was fast, it was lethal. In the hands of pilots trained for its strengths and protected by intact radar networks, it could be terrifying. But it was built for a specific kind of war. Controlled intercepts guided by ground controllers against bombers or predictable opponents. What it faced instead was chaos. Fluid dogfights, independent enemy pilots, a battlefield where initiative mattered more than obedience, and adaptability more than speed. In the weeks that follow, Soviet advisors will quietly rewrite manuals, training programs will change, new variants of the MiG will be rushed into service, promising better turning, better avionics, better missiles. But none of that will save the pilots who fought on June 5, 1967. For them, the lesson was written in fire, smoke, and empty sky. High above the desert, the MiG-21 pilots had believed they held the advantage. They were wrong.